All right. So we are live there. Double check. This is so cool. I think Cecilia's watching too, because I saw her already like, yep, we're live. Okay.
So how many people
All right.
are you watching?
Yeah, well, they'll come.
Yeah.
Let's see, record to the cloud. Make sure we're recording.
Cecilia's on.
Yeah. Well, she was like messaging already. All right. So let me get that microphone back in place. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. You ready?
Ready.
You ready to be my inaugural season 2 guest?
Let's kick it off.
I'm so excited. You know, when I was thinking about who I could have that would be an amazing inspiration to people in life right now, I thought about you. I was like, who could I bring as the second season? So we're going to bring it.
Doesn't say much for you, but okay, great. Let's go with it.
You guys, Andy
I'm
Allen.
so sorry.
I'm so sorry if that is the bar. Well, hey, there's nothing but going up from here. We said that, right? So yeah. I want to welcome Andy Allen to my show for the listeners later on and the ones that are listening now. Andy, you're a rock star. He's one of the most humble people I know. He's like, oh, shucks. Okay, so Andy, you're the top 1% of realtors in the nation. Mm-hmm. You have had a nearly 33-year career in real estate.
Yep, very old.
Started it too. And here's the thing though, is like when I interviewed you and you came to a team meeting and we did that here, we talked a lot about, one of your passion is like life balance. Like a lot of the people that are top agents in the city of Austin and around the country learned from you. Right. And so you're that kind of.
That's awesome. That's awesome because after all these years and through trial and error, I mean, I really think I have it figured out.
You do.
The life balance thing. I've told you this before, but for me, I look back at my 32 years, the whole time at Keller Williams.
Yep.
The stuff that I learned from Gary early on in my career set a path for me to be able to always focus on family before business. So even though I was putting up really big numbers with my team, I was coaching all the kids' sports. We were going on multiple vacations every year. I mean, I had an amazing personal life outside of the real estate. And I really believe that that's what enabled the numbers to be so high is because I always was I had a great attitude. I was in, I was in a good mood all the time.
Yeah. That's helpful. That'll attract a lot more people than when you're stressed out all the time because you're open for it, right? And that's exactly what I want to talk about. You've had that kind of mindset your entire career. Like you've been happy and it's not that it wasn't stressful because you're super competitive. You're one of the most competitive people I know. Love that about you. And so I want to talk about, because you've had longevity and success and still your team will generate a lot of business. High dollar, your average sales price is really high now.
I just looked at our board and this year, even though it's an off year, I have 18 sales that are between $1 million and 10 million.
That's amazing. 18. Yeah.
That's other sales obviously that are lower, but
right. That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay. So let's back up a little bit because I like to start because I've had you on this live version, but I've not had you on the podcast. So let's back up and talk a little bit about who's Andy Allen. Then we'll talk into a little bit. I want to spend some time on longevity and just because I'm feeling a lot of burnout from people. So let's back up though and tell your story. So tell us a little bit of background on you.
All right. So coming out of school, I had competed in bodybuilding, and I think that gave me a level of confidence. When I was starting the 11th grade, my junior year of high school, I was 5'11 and a half, 135. I played tennis. And then I found the gym that year and man, everything changed. And so 10 years later, I had grown half an inch. I was 6 feet tall and I weighed 260. Wow. And it was, that doesn't happen. You don't double your body weight without it being a real focus. And all my time that I had spent in the gym and then competing in bodybuilding, it gives you a level of discipline
for sure
that is a massive advantage over the rest of the world.
Right.
So for me to this day, even though those years are behind me, but the reality is I still get up at 5 and get a workout in the morning. I have a gym in my backyard. For those of you who don't know, I'm assuming that everybody listening to this is going to be an agent. The life that you have available to you as an agent is truly unbelievable. Yeah. I tell Janine all the time, my wife, can you even believe the life we have?
Yeah.
Really. I didn't come from any kind of money or anything. And yet I drive up here today and, I'm in my Bentley and I got this huge house and gates open when I come home and I have a gym in my backyard.
Yeah.
I have and it isn't just the money, right?
Right.
So
It's the life.
as I said,
Yeah.
from when the kids were very young, I've been involved in everything they've done. My relationship with my family is amazing.
It's incredible.
And so I coached all the sports, even if like I didn't really understand volleyball or whatever, I'd give it a try, you know. I mean, the kid, my daughter was young, so like I don't know the difference anyway.
Yeah.
But truly all the time that I got to spend with them and always making them a priority.
That's awesome.
My son, because he gravitated after his sophomore year of high school, he wanted to go all baseball, and we were in the batting cage like all the time.
Yeah.
And so
because you showed up for them, you were present with your children.
Okay, but here's why that could happen, and I mean this.
Yeah.
So again, I've only been at Keller Williams. Early on in my career, once I got to Gary Keller did a mastermind group, and we'd meet like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year around the country, and it was the top 20 agents.
Okay.
Right. So I get invited in. I'm pretty young, get invited into this group, and we get to the end of the year and we have a meeting, and he goes, okay, everybody be sure and bring your calendars. This is back when we'd write in a calendar.
Yeah.
Right? Like not here on a piece of paper.
Right. Yeah.
And so everybody showed up with a calendar, and I'd never gone through this. And he goes, okay, get out your calendars. I want you to write in every vacation that you can think of that you want to take next year. We write in all these vacations. I want you to think of every date night you want to take, as many as you want, write them in. All of the times you want to go visit family and do this and do that, write it all in, write it in. Now, at the end of each month, going into the next month, that's where you're going to write in dance recital for daughter, baseball game here, coaching this, doing that, doing this, put all of your stuff in. He said, now, if there's anything else that you want to do that's not on there, you're going to load it all in. He said, what I've done is, or what you've done for yourselves, you've given yourself the authority to have the most amazing life that you can think of. Now, all you have to do is, for the rest of the hours that you're not doing the things you want to do, go work to support that life. Okay, now this seemed like I'm sitting here filling this thing in the first year going, this is crazy. Like, who does this?
Yeah.
That set the tone for me for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And now you get to look
that.
up, and all you have to do is you have to put the goals in place to be able to realize the numbers you need to support that. So we backed into everything. So how much money do I need to be able to support that lifestyle?
Yeah.
And so because I was exposed to that early on in my career, it's amazing. Like, it's such a great way to live your life.
Absolutely.
It is such a great way. You think of yourself and your family and you go, okay, what would be really cool? My kids have been on 8 Disney cruises. They've been to Hawaii like
That's
5 or
awesome.
6 times. They've been to Vail like 10 plus times. We do the same things kind of over and over.
Yeah.
But like, I mean,
isn't that why though we do this? Isn't that why anybody has any kind of career, is to have those experiences with their family, usually, or people they love, right? Like, to create that. And yet we forget. And then those are the things that actually never make it to the calendar. And I've heard Gary say the same thing. And I love that you learned that so early on. Like you build everything else around that. And I think that is what's getting lost in our society right now, is that we're stuck in this vortex of instant gratification. Now there's social media. The life is moving so much quicker these days than when we were younger. And it's like, if you don't make that your focus, you might not have room for it if you don't prioritize it.
Frankly, if you're not exposed to it, who would know that exists, that you're allowed to say, I want to have this life. I want to have all these trips and all this stuff, and I want to coach all the stuff, and I want. And that comes before everything else. And the question would be, what other career can you have where you get to fill out that calendar? So if you're working at Dell or Apple or wherever, and you sit down to your manager and go, so here's my calendar. I'm going to be out on like 14 vacations this year. And then I'm going to coach all this, and I'm going to do all these things. You know that for the last coming up on 7 years, you know this, every Thursday, I drive to San Antonio to see my folks, right? Like, who gets to do that? Right. Honestly.
Every Thursday. I know, because I've reached out for a lot of things we were having. I'm like, hey, Andy, can you? And he's like, oh, it's a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I forgot. It's San Antonio with the Parents' Day.
Yeah.
But how cool is that?
And you create your business. You create your life with great people around you. So for me, I have Cecilia at the office.
Oh, she's amazing.
And she takes care of everything. Yeah. I don't ever believe that when I'm gone, anything is going to suffer. And she always knows, look, you can call me if you need me. Yeah. But don't need me.
Yeah.
That's usually what I say. Call if you need me, but don't need me.
But just don't need me. Don't
Exactly.
need me. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's back up. Okay. So in high school, when you decided to start doing the body lifting and stuff like that, like what made you decide that?
Okay. So it can be powerlifting or bodybuilding, but it's not bodybuilding. I think that's gymnastics. I don't know. It's some kind of circus thing they do, but that's not what I did. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
okay,
don't know.
okay.
It's
So
not my
body
thing.
and lifting. Okay, that is hilarious. That's so funny. That's the kind of stuff I can edit out later on.
Yeah, good idea.
Bodybuilding and powerlifting. Like, what made you decide from this like skinny kid that's doing sports to be like to double your?
It was easy because I moved to San Antonio when I was 15. We had moved 16 times. My dad's
Oh,
retired
wow.
Army colonel.
Okay.
My dad is also former Group 3 A-Team commander of Special Forces. So he was Green Beret Special Forces. He was the
Wow.
leader of Group 3, the guy who they would say, you're meeting at the runway in 30 minutes. All the guys on his team would have their bags packed. They'd show up. The guys would get on the plane. Propellers would be going. His CO would tell him, we're dropping you in here. You're going to take out this group. You're going to be back here by this time. If you're not here, the plane leaves. Like, that's my
Wow.
dad.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
he was like the commander. And so growing up, I think this is the biggest issue I see with people in general. And that is they allow themselves to be a victim, right, of their circumstance. Yeah. And they think at any given time, oh, this is miserable and I'm the only person in the world. And why does it happen to me?
Right.
And all the mopey stuff.
Right.
You are never going to have a great life if you do that.
You won't. And so you made that decision. Okay. So you had it. That makes sense with the role modeling of your father, but you went on to compete in bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
Like a competitive athlete with it.
Yeah. So absolutely. So my answer was, though, again, commit. There are no excuses. Commit. I would train. I never missed workouts, even when I was in college and I was bouncing. I go to class during the day. I'd bounce at night. I'd get out at 2:30. I'd swing by Kirby Lane because that was the only Kirby Lane.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I'd grab something to eat and I'd head to the gym. And there were no 24-hour gyms back then. That didn't exist. Okay. So I always would know the owner and I had a key. And so I could go in the middle of the night, turn the lights on, train for 2 hours, go home, I'm sleeping during the day.
Oh, so yeah,
so I would have blankets like hammered to the wall. Oh yeah.
So it was like night shift.
It's whatever it took.
Yeah.
It's whatever. But that was like a great life for me. A lot of people would go, wow, that seems extreme. Yeah. Right. But to me, it didn't, because I had a goal. My goal was I wanted to continue to train, continue to grow. I wanted to get on stage. It was a big deal to me. I wanted to compete.
Which you did. Yeah. Which you did. How long did you do that?
I mean, the lifting went on. It's gone on my whole life.
Powerlifting or what?
I did.
Or bodylifting.
So I did some powerlifting just because it was fun. And I trained.
Is that like a heavier? I don't really know what that is.
It's just a competition for squat, bench, and deadlift to see who pushes the most weight.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now I know.
And I did that because it's a great way to put on size. Okay. But mostly I love bodybuilding.
Okay. Which is the where you for the listeners that you go and do the poses and everything. Right.
And that's another way for those of you who lack confidence. You're getting up on stage in less than your underwear. It's a great way to build your confidence. If you want to be confident in a listing appointment and you've been in front of thousands of people in less than your underwear, you're kind of like,
this is nothing, right? Like if you've been on stage, I understand this from the Miss Nevada and Miss America pageants. Yeah, I understand what you mean. It's like, okay, so and that's why I say, my background in modeling and the fear of rejection doesn't exist in the real estate space. Try just being based on your looks, right? And so awesome. Okay, so you did that, and then what got you to real estate? Because I think that's an interesting transition.
So I'm out of school. I'm training for like 2 hours a day, laying in the sun an hour, eating 6 meals, and I'm teaching defensive driving class at night. Back then, this is the 80s, and I was getting like $20 an hour to teach class, which is
a big deal.
That was the same as what like a pharmacist out of school was getting paid, right? Because I had a buddy who was a training partner who became a pharmacist. So anyway, I felt like that was really cool. 4 days a week for 4 hours a day. Plus, I teach a class all day Saturday, and that was enough money to float my boat and give me a great life. And my parents were less than thrilled with what I was doing. I would say that. And so at some point, my mom said, look, why don't you get a real estate license? Because, throughout your life, you're going to hopefully buy and sell houses, and at least like it'll give you good information. Right. So I get a real estate license, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll try this. I've gone to classes, like I have the license. I wore back then a 56 coat and I had a 33-inch waist. So I couldn't buy any clothes off the rack. And in order to show up at the Keller Williams office, to show up, you had to have a coat and tie on. If I wanted to walk in the door to check my mailbox, I had to have a coat and tie, or I couldn't come in. And so I had to have like clothes made. It was interesting.
That is
it was
interesting.
also interesting.
It's changed a little bit.
Yes, it has. Thank you, God.
So you would not be even in the building right now.
No, and I would have,
Yeah.
at this point, I wouldn't be working anymore.
No, yeah.
So anyway, though, I get started in real estate and coming into the office and looking around at the people. And back then, Keller Williams was very small.
Yeah.
My office probably had 30 people.
Wow.
And I look at the top people, and I don't want this to come across wrong, but I really did think, man, if these are like the top agents, I truly believe I could conquer the world in real estate.
Yeah.
Because the discipline that I had from all the years of lifting and training and eating and all of the stuff like that was a different level of discipline. So for me, I looked at this and went, well, if I could transfer what I'm doing, even though I have an amazing life and I love the amount of free time, maybe this would be even better. And so my first year, I set a goal, and houses were really inexpensive, right? And I tell my mom and dad, okay, I'm gonna give the real estate thing a shot. I had clothes made. I'm going in to be a realtor. Okay. And I don't know, into my 20s, whatever I was. And so by October of that year, I had hit my goal.
Oh, wow.
So I phone home and I'm like, awesome. Hey, listen, it went really great this year. I'm talking to him throughout the year, obviously, but I'm like, I got great news for you. I just looked up, I've hit my goal. So I'm taking the next 2 months off. And my folks were so unhappy again.
They're like, wait, you missed the point
you
here.
Idiot.
Yeah.
Right. But that's truly how I looked at it.
Right.
No, I have my goal. I hit my goal. Now I'm rewarding myself.
Right.
Right. So anyway,
That's
and then
funny.
every year I did more.
So what did
more
you do though?
business.
Did you take the time off or did you keep working?
Well, I took the time off. I went to the gym like all the time and I was incredibly tan.
I love it.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was a great 2 months.
I love it. I love it. That was your first year?
That was my first year.
Yeah.
And then every year after that, I just did more and more and more business. And then
so really from the beginning, you always prioritized your personal
definitely
life.
Definitely.
I love that.
And from the very so here's something interesting. My second year, 2 guys came to me who were 2 of the kind of top guys. One had been the top guy in the city, period. Okay. And they came and said, hey, we want to start this thing. We want to form a group. And we want to throw all the money in the pot. And at the end of the month, we're going to split it a third. And we're going to hire a staff and do this. And we want you to join us. At the time, I was doing some relocation business because I knew someone in the HR department at Motorola. And she was spinning me leads. And so they thought Andy would be a good addition because he has Motorola and we can expand that.
Right.
Anyway, so I think, wow, well, I know myself. I'm off the chart competitive. This is at the end of my first year.
Okay.
Right. So these guys were doing 3 to 5 times the business I was
at the time.
So, so I think, man, I got to go talk to Janine because honestly, like I know me, I'm not going to be low man on the totem pole.
You're going to let that happen.
I already knew that.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in, I'm in. And so I go home and I go, hey, sweetie, I need to talk to you. A couple guys at the office forming this group. We're going to split it a third. They do really big numbers, but I'm telling you, me, and I'm going to be competitive. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of work, like open houses all the time. I'm going to be working all the time. And so I need to know if you're okay with that. And she looks at me and she goes, I've been waiting for you to grow up. This was her response in a very loving way, I guess.
Yeah. Oh,
but that's what she tells me. So I'm like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I guess she's like on board with mom and dad, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
When is she
Like,
gonna grow up?
You won,
So so the next year,
so she was all in.
She was all in.
She's like, go, baby, go.
Yeah, and we were together like 9 years, and by year 3, I was top producer every year after that.
Wow. Okay.
But that is
of the 3.
Of the 3 of us. But the deal is, I am, I'm wired to look at somebody and never go, oh, must be nice. Look, like I don't see life that way.
Yeah.
I look and go, that's amazing. If they did that, I can do it. Because what I know is I can outwork them. Right. There is no way they're going to be more committed than I'm going to be because I am off the chart competitive.
Yeah.
So,
you are.
Yeah, I am. No, I am.
I know. I see it. I feel it. I love it because I saw mine.
It's probably like to the point where it's problematic. It could be. I would say that. And my
It's also
son
served you well, though.
Oh, absolutely. My son is very much like me, and my daughter is very much like my wife. And they have there's no competitive stuff with them whatsoever.
At all. Well, that's
They're
why it's a nice
loving
balance.
and
Yeah, it's a nice balance.
No,
It's a
it's
nice
amazing.
balance. It's amazing. So, how do you think, like, for people that aren't as driven, see, I think that competitive spirit, I think athletes do really well. Yesterday, I just recruited an former NFL football player to this office from a competitor. And it, like, I think that what any kind of athletes or performers have a similar discipline, right? They kind of have that. What about people who don't have that? Any suggestion for them, like how to be able to find that within you?
So if you don't have a natural, I'm going to go conquer the world, then I think that you have to be more focused and more strategic. A lot of mine just comes because, again, I can look up, and rather than going, I got a list of everything I'm going to do, and I can just look and go, wow, someone did that, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Someone has that, and I would love to have that. So I'm going to be successful enough to have that.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't have that, then I think it comes down to discipline. Right. So I think that if I were coaching you and you go, man, I'm struggling. First of all, you're way overthinking it. I know there are a lot of people who make it more difficult than what it is.
Yeah.
And again, you should be looking at this going, if you guys could see the life that I have as a result of my years selling real estate all the time at Keller Williams, you would look and go, why would you sell yourself short and have less of a life? Because I've already shown you. This is, I mean, you could follow my track record and go, I'll just do what he did, right? Like, you don't have to reinvent it.
No, you don't, but and yet people don't.
Get up in the morning. Okay, first of all, this is my impression of real estate. Okay. It is comprised of a lot of people who have failed at virtually every other industry there is, right? So if she is working at Apple and she gets there late day after day, and I'm the boss and I'm like, dude, you're out.
Right.
You're done. We're walking you out to your car. And then Melanie goes, man, I hate them. You know what I need? I need to work for myself. And then she looks and goes, what could I do where I work for myself and it doesn't cost anything? I don't have a lot of money to open up something. I could be a realtor. Right. And here they come through our industry, making a pass.
Yeah.
If you have failed at other things because you're a miserable employee, well, now you are your own manager.
That's right.
If you couldn't be a good employee, the likelihood is you're a really crappy manager.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you could look, 3 out of 4 realtors historically are out of the business within 12 months, right? You can look decades back. 3 out of 4 realtors out of the business within 12 months. You could say, oh my God, that's devastating. Me, I look and go, oh, thank you, God.
Yeah.
I'm in an industry where, of course, I'm going to excel.
Right.
How could I not excel when I'm always competing against people who are just passing through?
Yeah.
So if you don't want to pass through, it has to be important enough for you to succeed.
That's
right. So your goals that you set, right? I remember one time in a mastermind meeting with Gary and one lady, Gary was breaking it down. What are our goals and how much money are we going to make this year? And all this. And she says, Gary, I don't appreciate this, that we're going through and talking about how much money we're going to make. I'm not motivated by money. And he goes, okay, well, this is a business and businesses are judged based on the money they make. But because it's not important to you, I suggest you make a list of all the charities you're going to fund with all the money you make. And that was the last time she complained about that.
Right. That's it.
She kind of went, yeah, okay. Never mind.
Right. Exactly. Because money's good for the good. So I think what I'm hearing you say is like you choose your habits and then your habits.
Yeah. So look, if I were coaching somebody who's going, man, I'm struggling, well, then change what you're doing. Right. 1, you're not going to be successful if you don't get in front of people. 2, if your real estate world is shaky, you have to make sure the rest of your world is not shaky. So I use a life pie chart that has 5 pieces to my life pie. Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
And so for me, here's the deal. I write down the 5 most important things in my life, right? So it's family, and certainly it's work. And then it is kind of long-term financial stuff.
Like wealth building, long-term.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is personal, which is health. All my health stuff goes in one, and spirituality goes in one. So So at any point, if one of those 5 pieces, if I'm having a problem and I'm struggling, well, that means 20% of my life is kind of heavy, but 80% of my life is good.
Yeah.
So that means every day when I wake up, I feel really good about waking up that day, right? So when you use that life pie and you write down the most important things. So for me, I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, the alarm goes off. I hate my life. It's miserable. I don't want to go and train. But then I go in the gym because that's what I do. And then an hour or so later, holy cow, I'm on top of the world. I can conquer the world. Right.
Yeah.
But it's because I started that way.
Right.
So for those of you who are struggling, I would say, yeah, you got to focus on your real estate, but get your whole life in order. And you're not going to get it all in order in a minute. If you have a bad relationship with a family member, let's say you have a sister who is a pain in the butt. I'm not saying this personally, as far as you know.
You would know, just hypothetically.
As far as you know, hypothetically. So then maybe if it's important, then I look at my life and I write inside of that, you know what, that relationship, I need to try to do better. So I'm going to text her once a month and just check in. Hey, hope things are going well. I heard so-and-so, your daughter's doing this or whatever, right? What will happen is over time, because I'm giving it effort, that will improve, right? So because I'm always making small improvements in all of my 5 most important areas, at no point am I, and the challenge that I've seen over time is so many agents focus, the successful ones, only on real estate, that if the market shifts, oh my God, it's almost like they're suicidal. They're so depressed and their world is cratering. Well, that's because their world is just this one little thing of real estate, right? And I do not believe anybody is going to be wildly successful in real estate if you have chaos. If you look in your wake and you see, all this crazy stuff with your family because you've devoted no time to it, and you're not saving money like you should, and you're not investing, and you don't have any personal stuff, and life isn't fun.
Yeah.
How many realtors?
That's burnout right there.
Exactly. How many realtors, I was going to say, have you talked to who have had great success, but look at you and go, I'd rather get a job at Walmart. I just hate to wake up every day.
I hear that all the time, Andy.
From some great successful agents.
People.
And I've heard it recently from 2 agents.
Yeah.
And so the answer, it's an easy thing to fix. And in terms of doing, so much of success is going to come from here.
Absolutely.
Right. Like
it's an inside out job.
You have to believe you can do it. But the cool thing about this is 3 out of 4 of the new realtors in the business are going to be gone within a year. So your competition is like, because of the revolving door in real estate, I would say this to you, okay? This is the greatest industry in the world for people like me, who didn't kind of know what they wanted to do. Right. Like at 7, you weren't going, I'm going to be a doctor and cure cancer. Right. That was not who I was. So if that's who you are, this industry affords you an opportunity to be wildly successful. I mean, beyond like what I ever thought was possible. Celebrity kind of success life I get to live. What she had said earlier about athletes, if you can get an athlete's mindset or an immigrant's mindset. You ever notice immigrants that can move to this country and have nothing? They come here, you hear the stories all the time, $20, $100 in their pocket, they have nothing. And you look at that same person 20 years later and you go, how does that happen? Right? How many wealthy people have you met through your course of real estate who have strong accents and came here with absolutely nothing? And they own strip centers and this business and that business, and they have a cleaning company that cleans these huge buildings all over, and they have a ton of people working for them, and they bring more family over. I was talking to the guy who's doing some work at my house. He's the main trade I've used for years, an amazing guy. He's from Honduras, and he was telling me, his brother, who again hasn't been here forever, is just finishing his house in Bastrop, and his house is like 3,300 square feet, and he is going to be all in because he's paying cash for it. A guy who came here with nothing, right? Paying cash for it. He'll be all in for 250. The houses out there, he said, where he is building or selling for like 550. Like, come on. And those of us who grow up here and have everything given to us, look at us. We don't reach for anything more than just kind of a minimum standard. If that's not okay with you, then change.
It's that
right?
hunger within, right?
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you?
You know, and I love that you keep that circle, back to the circle thing. I love that. And I agree. It's like this hunger, this, you know, never settling, and not that you're never satisfied. I'm not saying it's like, otherwise, I don't want to imply that you're never like happy about your life. You should be. I mean, Andy's the example. That's why I wanted Andy to be on this episode. Is Andy's very happy with his life.
No,
And it's one of, he loves his life. And he's one of the most competitive people I know. You can have both. What I love about the circle,
The life pie.
the life pie, is you're looking at it all the time. And not all little pieces are going to be the same at all times.
No.
But the other ones that are good will carry the other ones. And so if you're intentional and you're paying attention to it and not ignoring it, like whether it's the spiritual, for me, it was my personal that I was neglecting for a very long time. And that's changing, right? And I'm very open about that, because how am I really having my best life if it's not in all categories? And because I'm doing that now, I'm more fulfilled in everything that I do. Yep. And so, but if you're not looking at it and getting real with yourself, how can you get right?
Yeah.
How can you get right?
Anything you want to improve, you have to give it attention. Right?
Yeah.
That's logical. This is an easy thing to figure out. This isn't
right.
So again, if you and they have life pies, you can look online that have like 12 pieces, and you have the 12 top. The problem is, for me, I'm not going to focus on 12 things.
That's a lot of things.
5 things work for me. And so I can stay, and like she said, with spirituality, if I'm straight, it's just what keeps me kind of focused and keeps me centered. Yeah. Right. To where truly when I wake up every day, like I'm thrilled to wake up every day.
Can you sense that? That's why I want to start season 2 with you, because you are this walking energy in a positive, you're a positive force. And I love that. And yet you have one of the most abundant lives. Abundance is my word. And you have one of the most abundant lives of people I know. So let me ask you that question. What does abundance mean to you?
So I don't think abundance has to do with money necessarily. I think abundance has to do with whatever you find happiness in. You have to have a lot of that. Right? Like for me, I live a life of abundance because I do the things that I enjoy. I spend the time with my family. I get to go see my folks, like all of these really cool things that I have for my, like that's an abundant life. When certainly finances are a part of it. Right. Right. It's like I said, when I drive home and electric gates open at my house, like
I can't wait to see. Are they going to open when I come?
Like they'll be open.
Okay.
They'll be open for the party. But like, again, I'm just telling you, I never started out going, that's what I want. That's right. Like all of that just kind of happened with success. The success part was intentional. Because again, for me, I'm competitive. And so if I see somebody doing something and I think it's worth doing, then I'm going to go after them. Right. For my kids, I told them through their whole formative years growing up, I don't care what you do. I don't care what sport you play or don't. What I care about is if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So choose something that you like and then go work hard enough to do it really well.
I love that.
I've had multiple staff over the years, 2 that right away come to mind who have told me, this was years ago, oh my God, I would hate being one of your kids. Yeah, because they thought the pressure would be so great. But you understand, there never was pressure other than choose whatever you want to do and then do it well.
I hear engaged though when you talk about it. Like I think you'd be a great dad. I would love to have you as a dad. You know, I think you're just really present.
I think so too.
Right? I think that amazing mom too.
Yeah.
Right? But I think you are much more disciplined. 2 things I want to cover before we run out of time. Number 1, you talked about Dave Jenks right before we went live, and then I also want to ask you what Playing to Win. I always ask that on every guest. So I want to talk about both of those. Which would you like to do first?
Dave.
Okay, let's go to Dave Jenks. Dave Jenks, who passed away during COVID, love him dearly. He was an inspiration to both of us. Yeah. Tell me the story that you had. You know, he wrote all the books with Gary and Jay, and he's amazing, you know, builder of our company on the education side. If you know Dave Jenks, and then I'll make sure his wife sees this, Gina. Yeah. She'll love that. Tell us the Dave story.
So first of all, Dave was an amazing guy. So I had Dave coach me at different times. And if I needed something and I doesn't matter what I was going to do, I would call Dave and have him coach me right now.
Nice.
He was that kind of guy. Super, super committed. Right. So anyway,
Super
hired
smart
him-
too. Super
Oh,
committed and
off the
one
chart.
of the smartest people probably I ever met.
Yeah.
Very
Oh, and-
articulate. Yeah.
But Dave is one of those guys, if he's going to do it, he's going to do it well.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
Truthfully, I wouldn't have to tell. Dave is totally wired that way also.
Yes.
He would come over to my gym. I have a gym in the backyard. He would come over to the gym and work out. And though I had this long history of training and being a competitive bodybuilder and all that, and Dave would go in there and push every bit as hard as I would.
Nice.
I mean, he'd be yelling and I'm thinking, Dave is a little crazy. He's a little like that.
You've been training your whole
like,
life.
exactly.
You know?
I mean, I get it that I'm that way, but
yeah.
okay. So
That's awesome.
anyway, some years ago, I'm talking to Dave, and I don't know, it's probably like 5 years ago, and he says something about, well, you know, of course, your team is the entire buyer agent department of the book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And I went, really? He goes, Andy, you don't remember? Like when we were writing the book, I was in your office for 2 weeks straight, watching and monitoring everything, writing it down, everything you did. You don't remember that? And I went, no, I really don't. I'm sure I was around, but I wasn't focused on that.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't kind of my deal.
It was just Dave being around, right? Yeah.
And I didn't, at that time, I didn't have the same relationship with him. I hadn't been coached by him and all that. So
Yeah.
he was probably just a guy hanging around the office.
Yeah. But he documented for 2 weeks in your office how your team ran, and that influenced a lot of how they wrote
That's what he said. He
section
said
in the
that's
Millionaire Real
basically-
Estate Agent
It's
book.
your team that is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right?
That's
So
amazing.
I want to go
I
back to
love
one
that.
thing you said earlier about athletes.
Yeah.
When I was forming the team, so one year our team was ranked number 15 in the nation by the Wall Street Journal. I had 11 agents. We did 566 sides, 566 sales in a year with 11 agents. That comes out to 4.25 sales per agent per month.
Wow.
Okay.
Love that number.
Here's something that's really interesting, and that is that none of my agents, one whom I got rid of quickly, otherwise, none of them had real estate experience.
Wow.
Okay. None of them.
Yeah.
What I found was people who have real estate experience already have bad habits, right? And they also have, look, if you're starving in real estate and you do a sale once every 2 months or once every 3 months, and then I bring you onto my team and right away you're doing 1 to 2 sales a month, you think that you're the greatest salesperson ever. And from my perspective, though, having a team and having numbers that like we need to keep moving forward with numbers.
You're slacking.
I
think
can't
they're
have
slacking.
that.
I
I can't
think,
have
you're
somebody
under
doing a
par.
couple sales a month
Yeah.
if our team is averaging over 4 sales a
Right.
month, right?
Yeah.
And so that was number one. Those of you who have teams, I would encourage you look for talent. Always you're looking for talent.
Because the talent it could be in another profession, and then you can train them. You can see the talent, skill in people.
Look.
Talent shows up in any profession.
Yes.
You can see it when you meet them.
You find a great salesperson anywhere.
Yep.
And if they're not in real estate, they're really capped, right? Like,
Yeah, they
okay,
are.
this great salesperson, because of their industry, they can make it 150, and that's it. You can bring them into real estate on your team and they can make a lot more money, and they can make you a lot more money, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, when I was recruiting, because like we talked about being very competitive,
Yep.
I started recruiting people who were like me. So I had a lot of college athletes. I had a former professional athlete, a former like 12-year baseball player who was on the team.
Nice.
And so and this is great advice for those of you on the team. We had a grease board, right? A big board. And so everybody would write down their sale, right? So what would happen is these guys, because they were all competitive, right? 11 salespeople, they'd look and somebody would be sandbagging their deals and not write them on the board. And so Monday morning, and I had a view, right? My office, then we had the bullpen with all the staff, then we had the board on the other side. Guys would come in, and someone would come in like early Monday morning before anybody, and they'd write like 6 deals down, right in a row with their name, right? With their color, whatever their color was. And so, of course, everybody would walk in and everybody looked at the board, and they would walk in and go, where's so-and-so? And they would be so bad that they sandbag, and then they go back there and immediately get on their phone and start calling clients.
Yeah.
We need to go look at this out. I got this one for you, and I got this one. We're going to do these 2 this afternoon. And then they'd hang up and they'd set the next, like, it was really cool to watch. They were so competitive. That
Exactly.
when you put them in this arena, Oh, great.
But you're only going to get that from a competitive person.
Exactly.
Because see, you and I like a challenge. We like to be on the board. And so other people that aren't that, and that's how you weed out. You get to, this is the beautiful thing about real estate is you get to choose who you surround yourself with. That's the beautiful thing. You get to work with choose the clients. You get to choose the people you let in your world. And that's a beautiful thing. And there aren't very many industries like that where you really get to surround yourself with like-minded people.
You get all of the decisions you make are yours. You don't have any boss telling you what to do.
Right.
And there is no ceiling in real estate, right?
Yeah.
They don't tell you, well, you can have a life that affords you this, but you're not allowed to have a life that affords you that. In our world, that doesn't exist.
You know, it's funny because, you know, a lot of people, the sales are down in Austin, obviously. And so that's just, you know, when there's less opportunity, you know, in the marketplace, it's always more opportunity for someone else to really shine through. Right. And so you just said you had 18 transactions this year. I think that were between 1 and 5,
1 in 10,
1 in 10 million.
10 was the highest.
Okay. Awesome. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
That's a good one. So homes are selling, guys. And why do you think that is? And then I want to ask the playing to win before we wrap up here.
First of all, for those of you who haven't sold a $10 million house, walking away from title with a $300,000 check for the same amount of work, truthfully, that you guys would put in on a $400,000 house, it's really cool. Like, it's a really good thing. I've always coached people, move up your price point.
Yeah.
Be strategic, be intentional, move up your price point. Okay.
Yeah.
That
in Austin, that's a doable. You've seen that evolve in your whole career here, because I'm sure when you started, there weren't a lot of $10 million deals even available.
Heavens, no.
In Austin, Texas.
But here's the other thing that I would say. You guys, we're in a softer market right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the soft market is where you do all the things. So those of you who haven't lived through this, and if you haven't been in the business prior to like 2011, you haven't lived through one of these. So here's what's really cool. When we come out of this, let's say in 2025, whoa, the market starts to take off again. That means we will have had like 3 years where people who would normally be moving have not moved.
Right.
So think of all those people
pent up.
Who you don't just have the normal year's worth of business, you have 3 years worth of business in a year. So think about if you position yourself to be one of the people who's a go-to for whatever area, however you want to do your marketing, farming or otherwise. Think about what it seems like when the market turns, because I've been through a number of these and I can tell you what it is you are running as fast as you can and deals are happening really, it's not like babysitting that we're doing now. Deals are happening really quickly and you'll see your bank account go from 0 to hero super fast.
Yeah.
In order for that to happen, one, you can't be a victim right now of doom and gloom. You have to look and go, thank you. All I got to do is weather the storm and position myself to where when we come out of this,
that's right,
I'm going to be rocking because they're going to be calling me.
And lean in with those relationships because you have those relationships. Like, you dominate the neighborhood you're in. You dominate that because of the relationships you've built. You're known as the market expert. Like, Seth was just in here before and laughing like that he needs to call Andy to get through your neighborhood.
Exactly.
That was hilarious. It's so funny, but that took time, and that also took, and I know we're out of time, but that also was a very intentional move for you. Because you talk about increasing your price point, you were in another area dominating a neighborhood with a much lower price point. And then you talked to your wife and you said you had one shot to do this and you picked where you are now. And
my wife would never want to move. We were in a 1,300 square foot foreclosure in Wells Branch for 9 years. And she said, this is nicer than anything I grew up in. My wife is the most amazing human being. She's like, truly, she's a hero to me. And so what I realized was, I'm not going to get to like move over and over with her. Right. If I'm able to get her out of this house,
better be right.
Yeah. So I went west and built big because and 25 years later, I was right. She's still there. So it was a good strategy.
What kind of market share do you have in your neighborhood? Do you know?
There were, I have 6 out of 10 sales this year in my neighborhood.
Okay. That's really good.
60%.
60%. That's
and then
phenomenal.
In the neighborhood next door, I have 50%.
Okay.
Because I farm that also. Anyway,
awesome.
It's so easy to be the go-to and be the dominant person.
Yeah.
There are certain factors that when you run your numbers, but there are a ton of markets right now, neighborhoods where people aren't going after because they think the sky is falling and no one wants to spend money and all of that. If it means that you should go get a part-time job so that you can do your farming and get your pieces out, then go get the part-time job.
Yeah.
because again, when this market turns,
Mhm.
you're gonna remember this and go, oh my God, that guy was so right. I don't remember who he was, but
Hi.
life is really good.
That body lifter.
Exactly. That one.
A new term. We just see everything's happening on my podcast. I love it. Great
Yeah,
things
go
happening.
figure.
Okay, so here, because we can't, it's not an official show on my
Okay.
show unless I say,
Suck it to.
what is playing to win look like to you?
Uh,
I mean, we just had an hour talking
Yeah.
about playing to win, but in your definition, what does playing to win look like to Andy Allen?
so playing to win means hitting my numbers, means achieving at the level that I say I'm capable of achieving and that I'm willing to put the work in to achieve at that level. I'm capable of doing much more than I'm doing right now. I'm just not willing to do what I used to do and put, you know, I'm just at a different point in life.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Well, you've
and
worked
so
towards where you are
it's-
at today
yeah.
too.
If most of you knew the number of hours that I work to have the sales and income that I have, it would be shocking.
You know, we're
But I'm at
recording
a
this,
point,
right?
I know, but I'm at a point in my life where, look, I mean,
Yeah.
I have
So
built
now I
it
know.
over time, but I'm telling you, it's such an amazing life.
But
Truly.
you've earned that.
The
And you've done
opportunity-
the work to get
So,
there.
so winning to me is that it is going.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it was I'm going to conquer the world.
Okay.
I would see somebody who's doing huge numbers and go, that guy's going down.
Yeah.
I'm going to do more numbers than him.
Yeah.
And truly, that was my motivation. I saw someone else doing it, so I knew I could do it.
Right.
I knew I just had to outwork them, and then I would go and succeed. At this point, it is more, okay, what do I think would really be like a great life? And it's
Mm.
more of that.
Yeah. And that is winning.
Oh,
I mean, you're winning big in life.
absolutely.
You're winning big in life.
Yeah. And I'm winning big, truly. You know, I mean, it's going to sound like a plug and it's not rehearsed, but it's from my heart. I fully believe I am where I am and have the life I have because of Keller Williams.
Mhm.
The training and the stuff that Gary taught me early on, man, it's just, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like I've told you, it's a life I never thought existed.
Mm.
So
I love that so much, you know, and we're seeing, you know, and I love that because people just assume everybody kind of talks the same. They don't. And so like, I'm seeing this trend as the market now is getting more challenging, right? I'm seeing people coming back because they want to be around that. They want to be around the way people think and talk here.
Yeah.
So who you surround yourself with matters.
It does matter. And again, you have to have balance in life. I will
Yeah.
tell you, the people who are out killing it for 2 or 3 years in a row, but they work all the time.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
They're the burnout guys.
They are going to burn out
Yeah.
and they're going to be out of the industry.
Yeah.
And they'll look for something else. The grass will always seem greener to them. The answer is live a life with balance. And so get all of your stuff in first, and then all the work stuff second. It's amazing.
And build your
It's
life
really
around
amazing.
it. I
Yeah,
love
it is
that.
amazing.
Put all the things that matter to you personally, to your family, all that in your calendar first. This is a great time of year because when we air this podcast, it'll be January.
Yep.
And so right now that is the time to do it. Whatever time it is. If you don't have a plan, start now, right? Go build what matters to you, and then everything else will fall around it. And also you're driven because you want to take those vacations. You want to have that time with your loved one, whatever,
Yep.
right? It'll motivate you
When
to get into action.
Use goals. Goals help you achieve your potential. Okay. And when you're setting your goals, I'd start 10 years out, then 5 years, then 3 years, then 1 year. Right. And so you want to back into your numbers. It is not nearly as hard as some of you make it. It isn't.
Yeah.
Be purposeful.
I love that. You know, Jason Abrams was here yesterday, who's a super smart guy, as we know, right? And he was doing the mastermind, and he had said from Gary, had like these 10 questions to ask, which were so powerful. And they're on my Facebook if you want to see them. But then he also said, but for planning right now, you know, 1 year is not enough. So I love that you said that.
No.
You got to go bigger.
10.
You got to go 10 and then get it smaller. And that's how you can actually build a plan that makes sense.
And if your goal is to succeed through leverage and having a team, you don't want to reinvent your team every year. We hit our goal, but we're doubling our numbers, and now I have to completely no. You go 10 years out, and everything you do, every decision you make is based on getting to this 10-year, right? You have to start with the end in mind. Those agents who, okay, great, I want to do this much, and they do it, hire the first assistant, and then the next thing you know, we're doubling our business and the assistant's mad because there's more work to do.
Right.
Right. You have to be strategic.
Yeah.
Look, we've all lived before you. everybody has already made all of the mistakes, so you don't have to make those mistakes. It's really cool.
That's really cool.
You know,
that's really
when
cool.
I got into the business, we didn't have anyone to go to. There was,
Yeah.
In fact, when I got to Keller Williams, there was no training, honestly. And most of the people in the office were really old. I had nothing in common with them. And I'm like mid-20s, in my new clothes, thinking, and they're like, well, welcome. Good luck, Andy.
Yeah. With
And
your
I'm
big
thinking,
shoulders and little waist.
Good luck with what? Like, what do I do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is, again, I can't emphasize enough the opportunity that is in front of you right now in real estate.
Yeah.
To have such an amazing life that you control every aspect of your life. Don't let it get away. Don't go sell out because the market is soft. If you need a part-time job in order to be strategic and hit your goals so that as soon as the market takes off, you are banking, then you need to go do what you need to do.
And there's no shame in that, right? There's no shame in that.
What you need to do is you need to stay in real estate.
Yeah.
And you need to be purposeful, and you need to have a strategy, plan it out, and you need to go attack it, because there are really good days ahead. The downturn like this is what guys like me look forward to, because what we know is, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. As soon as this thing turns, we know the numbers will be incredible.
Yeah, because the activities you're doing now are just building the pipeline of
Absolutely.
tomorrow, right? Yeah, exactly.
Build that expertise.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, anything I didn't ask you, or any last thought as we wrap up this episode?
I have tons of stuff that I could say. I mean, this has been my world for so long.
Yeah.
But again, I just say, be thankful for every day, be thankful for the opportunity that you have being in real estate and being a part of Keller Williams, and take advantage of it. I came into this because my parents basically made me get a real estate license, right? Most of you are strategic and you saw some opportunity and you said, okay, I want to pursue that opportunity. I didn't. I got a real estate license because, like I said, it made my folks happy. I knew one person in real estate. They worked at a company called Keller Williams. He was a firefighter who did it part-time.
Oh, wow.
But the only company I knew of was Keller Williams. So I went to Keller Williams. I could not have been less purposeful getting into this. I really couldn't.
I didn't know that.
No, this was not a strategy of mine.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that
So unlike you.
No, back then, my only strategy was have a lot of free time, eat a lot of meals, lay in the sun, train.
Yeah.
And don't.
I learned that today. Yes. That's amazing.
It was a great life.
Yeah. And you have a great life now.
I do.
You've made some great choices.
I do.
So thank you for being my guest today, because I just want people to know it's the long play, and markets are going to be changing. Industries under attack. All the things that's out there is when you're in relationship and strategic with people and purposeful, right? You can really have a big life. And
absolutely,
I think your wife would agree with that.
And in real estate, I'm telling you, it is not as challenging as some of you think. It isn't. We've done this before, right? We've gone through all of the negative stuff. That there are books out there. There's all kind of, there are coaches. There's all kind of things you can have, right? You can join a team, but if you join a team, my advice is join a team for the short term rather than the long term. Join a team that's going to teach you things so that you can then go out on your own and conquer the world. I knew with all of my guys, when we would hire them, we try to keep them, do everything we could to keep them as long as we could. But I knew if they're the right people, they're going to go out on their own. Because I don't want people who are hanging around waiting to be spoon-fed a lead, right? You want the people who want to go conquer the world, and they're learning from you and learning at a high level. So their learning curve goes from that to that. And then I have a lot of people who work for me who are incredibly successful right now in real estate. Top team in Austin right now is somebody who worked for me.
And he still calls you too.
Yeah, another guy has offices in many cities around Texas. Another guy for anything downtown is the go-to. Like it makes me proud to look at these guys who invested time, and we invested time training them up, and like we trained them right, and then they go out on their own. It's really cool.
That's really cool. And so with this, as we wrap up, there is one more question I want to ask you. What are you most proud of?
That's not even that hard. The thing I am most proud of is the fact that I haven't sacrificed any of my personal life to put up the numbers I put up. I haven't. I have no regrets with regard to my family. I haven't, and I didn't realize it at the time, but because I made myself stay in balance, it propelled my career and my numbers that much more.
Yeah.
Because I was never burned out. I was never moping. I was never woe is me. I was always like, wow, this is amazing. Like, who gets to take these vacations and do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is an amazing industry.
Yeah. And
Take
you're,
advantage.
yeah, for sure. And I hope that the listeners today, you're inspired by Andy to just keep working on yourself. Remember what's important to you and put that first and foremost in your calendar. So you make sure it happens and you don't get stuck in the busyness, and you can build a really, really great life. And if you know real estate is your thing, don't give up, you guys. Don't give up. Don't quit. And if you have to find other solutions temporarily while you're building your pipeline for when things change or whatever, do whatever it takes.
And
Right?
if you think that you can leave real estate, go do something else, wait for the market to come back and jump back in like so many people think, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're
Stay
wrong.
in the game.
You have to stay in this.
Yeah.
You can't come back in when the market's taking off. You'll make a little bit of money in the short term, but the problem is you already know you failed. You already know I failed once, and that leaves the door open for you to leave again. And that's not how you become successful.
Yeah, and you've missed all that ramp up time too,
Exactly.
Right? Like it's that law of
Yes,
momentum,
and it's
right?
so good.
Yeah.
It's so good when it turns.
Yeah.
It is.
We're ready, right?
Yes.
We're ready. We'll be there.
You'll be looking for the next downturn.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah.
You won't want bad things to happen, but logically you're looking going, well, this is kind of sad that for a few years now, probably 3 years, we'll have to baby this thing along. But when it changes,
Yeah.
put on your running shoes because it gets good.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love having you in our world. Andy, thank you for being my guest today.
Thanks for having me.
I love it. I love it. And so happy that welcome to season 2. And we'll see you on the next episode.
See y'all.
Bye, guys.